Alex had always been drawn to the unexpected. There was a certain thrill in stepping outside his usual routine, in finding the edges of life where curiosity and caution collided. That afternoon, with the sun dipping lazily behind the city skyline, he felt the urge to visit Ryan, his closest friend since college. Their friendship was easy, familiar, filled with jokes and late-night confessions, but lately, there had been an unspoken tension in their conversations that Alex couldn't ignore. Ryan had been distant the past few weeks, replying to messages slowly, sometimes not at all. Alex's instinct told him that something was off, though he couldn't place it. He had debated whether to call or simply show up, and ultimately, the latter won. There was a spontaneity in surprise visits that words on a screen could never match. The walk to Ryan's house was quiet, almost eerily so. The streets were lined with trees whose leaves whispered in the autumn breeze, and the distant hum of traffic felt like a soundtrack to Alex's growing anticipation. His mind wandered, replaying moments of laughter and late-night talks, imagining how Ryan might react when he suddenly appeared at the doorstep. When Alex reached the house, he hesitated for a moment, glancing at the neat brick exterior and the garden Ryan always took pride in. He raised his hand to knock, but before he could, the door opened, and his breath caught. There, standing casually in the doorway, was Mr. Thompson, Ryan's father. Alex hadn't expected him. He knew Ryan's father only superficially, from occasional greetings and polite nods. Yet now, seeing him up close, Alex noticed a quiet intensity in Mr. Thompson's posture, the way his eyes seemed to measure and assess without words. There was something commanding, almost magnetic, about his presence, and Alex felt an unfamiliar flutter of unease mixed with curiosity. "Alex," Ryan's father said, his voice steady but low, carrying an undertone that Alex couldn't quite read. "I wasn't expecting you." Alex's response faltered, a nervous smile forming as he stepped inside. "I thought I'd drop by. Ryan's around?" "He's occupied at the moment," Mr. Thompson replied, stepping aside to let Alex enter. His gaze lingered for a moment longer than necessary, a subtle weight in the silence that made Alex's stomach tighten. There was no hostility, no overt friendliness either, just a tension that seemed to vibrate in the air, drawing Alex's attention in ways he didn't understand. As Alex stepped further inside, he took in the surroundings, the polished wooden floors, the carefully arranged furniture, the faint scent of cedar and spice lingering in the air. Everything was pristine, controlled, yet there was an undercurrent of something untold, a private world that only those within these walls fully understood. Demar. Thompson moved to pour a drink, the clink of glass punctuating the quiet. Alex found himself studying the man, noticing the subtle lines around his eyes, the calm yet deliberate movements, the slight way his jaw tightened when he spoke. There was a complexity to him that Alex hadn't anticipated, layers hidden beneath the ordinary exterior. "I didn't mean to intrude," Alex said cautiously, his curiosity mixing with an unspoken apprehension. "I just wanted to check on Ryan." Mr. Thompson gave a small, enigmatic smile, neither approving nor discouraging, simply observing. "He's busy. But you're welcome to wait." Alex nodded, moving toward the living room, every step measured as if the floor itself were an uncharted territory. There was a strange pull in the atmosphere, a subtle energy that made his pulse quicken. Something had shifted the moment he entered, something unspoken but undeniable, and then, just as he began to settle in, Mr. Thompson's gaze met his again, steady and intense, and Alex felt a chill that was not entirely unpleasant. A thought flitted through his mind: this visit, intended as a simple check-in, might change everything. That he sat down, heart still racing, and glanced toward the hallway where Ryan's voice should have been. But for now, the house felt charged with a quiet, unsettling energy, an energy that promised that what would happen next was far from ordinary. The afternoon stretched on, silence punctuated by small gestures and unspoken questions, and Alex realized that nothing about this visit would remain as simple as he had imagined. Alex had tried to focus on the room around him, the warm tones of the walls, the soft sunlight filtering through the curtains, even the gentle ticking of a clock, but he found his attention repeatedly drawn to Mr. Thompson. There was an inexplicable weight to the man's presence, something that made the air feel heavier, charged with an energy Alex couldn't name. He reminded himself it was ridiculous. After all, Ryan's father was just a man, an authority figure, not someone who could stir such disoriented thoughts. Yet, the pull was undeniable. Mr. Thompson moved gracefully to a shelf, picking up a book and flipping it casually. "You know," he said, voice calm, "Ryan speaks highly of you. Always has. I've been curious to see what he sees in you." Alex's stomach tightened. The words were innocent enough on the surface, but there was an undertone, a subtle tension that made Alex shift slightly in his seat. He tried to reply casually. "I guess that's nice to hear. Ryan's been a good friend for a long time." "Yes, he has," Mr. Thompson said, his eyes not leaving Alex's. "But sometimes, there are things people don't say aloud, things that linger beneath the surface." His tone was neither threatening nor comforting, just deliberate, intimate in a way Alex wasn't prepared for. Alex swallowed, feeling a mix of curiosity and unease. He had known Ryan's father as polite, distant, a presence that could easily fade into the background during casual visits. But now, alone in this room with him, there was an undeniable intensity. It wasn't physical, at least not entirely, but it pressed against Alex's thoughts, tugging at emotions he didn't fully understand. Ryan's voice echoed faintly from down the hall, laughing at something over the phone, and Alex felt a strange relief. Yet the relief was brief. The moment the sound faded, Mr. Thompson leaned slightly closer, not enough to be obvious, but enough that Alex felt a subtle heat rise to his cheeks. "You're observing," Mr. Thompson said softly, almost a statement, almost a question. "Trying to understand me?" Alex blinked. I suppose. He stopped, unsure how to articulate the tangle of curiosity and apprehension inside him. He was aware of his own racing heartbeat, aware of how each word felt weighted, how each glance carried more meaning than it should. For a few minutes, they simply sat in quiet observation. Mr. Thompson poured a drink, his movements deliberate, almost ritualistic. Alex noticed the small gestures, the way his fingers brushed the glass, the faint crease in his brow as he considered something unspoken. Each moment seemed loaded with intention, and Alex couldn't stop himself from analyzing every nuance. "I've always respected Ryan's judgment," Mr. Thompson said finally, breaking the silence. "But sometimes, people surprise us, in ways we don't expect." His eyes lingered on Alex, intense and unreadable, and for a fraction of a second, Alex thought he saw something raw, something vulnerable hidden beneath the composed exterior. Alex's mind raced. He wanted to leave, to shake off the uncomfortable tension, yet he couldn't. There was a magnetism he couldn't explain, a fascination that kept him rooted. He felt caught between caution and curiosity, and the conflict twisted inside him, making every second feel amplified. Then, almost imperceptibly, Mr. Thompson extended a hand, not for a handshake, not overtly, but a gesture that hovered between familiarity and something more intimate. Alex's pulse jumped. He glanced at the doorway, half expecting Ryan to appear and interrupt this strange intimacy, but the hallway remained empty. Alex realized, with a mix of apprehension and intrigue, that this moment, this unexpected closeness, was shifting the boundaries he had always believed in. What had started as a simple visit to see a friend had transformed into something complex, layered with unspoken desires, curiosity, and an emotional tension neither of them could ignore. And as Mr. Thompson's gaze met his again, steady and quietly insistent, Alex understood that there was no turning back to the simplicity of friendship. Something had changed. Something had begun. The room felt smaller, charged, as if the very air between them carried a weight of consequences yet unseen. Alex's thoughts spun, questions forming faster than answers, and a single truth settled uncomfortably in his chest: the afternoon was no longer ordinary, and neither he nor Mr. Thompson would emerge from it unchanged. The weight of the room pressed on Alex in a way that was almost tangible. Every glance, every subtle gesture from Mr. Thompson seemed magnified, and Alex felt the pulse of tension in his chest, heavy and insistent. He wanted to speak, to break the strange quiet that had settled between them, but words failed him. His mind raced, caught between instinct, curiosity, and the creeping sense of guilt that came with the realization of what was unfolding. Mr. Thompson remained calm, as if he were aware of the turmoil swirling inside Alex. "You're thinking too much," he said softly, almost a whisper. "Sometimes, what we feel is more important than what we can rationalize." His words carried a weight that made Alex's thoughts stumble. He had always believed he could control his emotions, but this was different. There was an intensity in Mr. Thompson's gaze, steady, unwavering, that made Alex feel both exposed and strangely understood. Alex took a shaky breath, trying to ground himself. I don't know what to say," he admitted, voice barely audible. "I didn't expect any of this." "You never do," Mr. Thompson replied, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing at his lips. "Life has a way of surprising us, doesn't it? And sometimes, it shows us things we weren't looking for but perhaps needed to see." His eyes softened slightly, revealing a vulnerability that contrasted sharply with the commanding presence he had maintained earlier. Alex's heart pounded. The man before him was not just Ryan's father, he was a person of depth, with desires, regrets, and a quiet longing that resonated in a way Alex hadn't anticipated. For a moment, the world outside the room, the expectations, the morality, the consequences, faded into the background. All that mattered was the charged space between them, the unspoken understanding that had formed in the silence. A small movement, a brush of a hand against the armrest, a slight lean closer, made Alex flinch and then pause. He realized that his curiosity was no longer innocent. He was drawn to this forbidden connection, caught between fascination and apprehension. The complexity of desire, of attraction, was raw and immediate, and he could feel its pull tugging at the edges of his reason. "I shouldn't," Alex began, but the words trailed off. His mind screamed caution, yet his heart betrayed him, urging him to stay, to explore the tension that neither had fully defined. "You don't have to say anything," Mr. Thompson said quietly. "Actions, even small ones, speak louder than words." His gaze lingered, patient and intentional, as if waiting for Alex to understand that boundaries were now fluid, and that the path forward was theirs to navigate. Alex exhaled slowly, a mixture of relief and apprehension flooding him. The room seemed smaller now, intimate in a way that left him acutely aware of every breath, every heartbeat. He knew that what was happening could never be undone, that the simplicity of friendship and casual visits had vanished the moment he crossed the threshold. Yet, despite the fear, there was a strange exhilaration, a sense that he was discovering a new layer of himself, one that had been hidden beneath routine and propriety. After a long pause, Mr. Thompson reached for a glass of water, his movements deliberate, unhurried. "Whatever happens," he said, "know that there are choices, and every choice comes with its own consequences. But understanding, even for a moment, is never wasted." Alex nodded, absorbing the weight of the words. He felt both grounded and adrift, caught between the safety of what he knew and the allure of what he had just experienced. There was no simple resolution, no clear answer, only the realization that life had shifted, subtly but irrevocably, in this quiet room. As the afternoon sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the polished floor, Alex felt a flicker of clarity. He would leave soon, return to the familiar world outside, but the encounter would linger, shaping his thoughts, his desires, and his understanding of himself in ways he could not yet articulate. The house, once just a friend's home, had become a place of revelation, a threshold to something entirely unexpected, and as Alex rose to leave, their eyes met one final time, steady, knowing, and charged with unspoken meaning. The afternoon had ended, yet its consequences were only beginning to unfold.